Hey, what's going on? It's middle of October 2025. Been a couple of years since I've posted anything. I just thought I would give everyone an update for those of you that have been following the process and the project. Do get a lot of questions from people like, why don't you post more? It's funny. I still get lots of emails or messages on YouTube about that. Reality is, it's just not worth my time. Unless you want to have like an actual like big channel. You're never really gonna make any money, and it's not worth. I got better things to do, honestly. So let me just give you an update on where we're at in 2025, and I'll show you around a little bit. Well, fortunately, we've got a windy day here at the lake, but this is our dock setup. It's been mostly the same since we originally put it in. Put these stairs in. You guys all saw me do that. Over there, we have a buoy that we can tie up our lily pad to. We've got stairs here going up. It's really pretty here. The pine needles have all fallen, so they kind of make a carpet everywhere. Leaves are starting to come down. It's actually like 75 degrees. Here's the sauna I built. So this is more or less the same. The lily pad's out of the water because the water is like 50 degrees right now. Somebody's passing by on their boat. Here's the interior of the sauna. So this is mostly the same. I did finish the trim all the way around here and everything. So what we end up with is a warming bench. Got an extra boat seat there right now. This kind of doubles as like a boathouse stuff, or I guess not a boathouse, but place for accessories, etc. Got a bunch of hooks, handles. Hooks are made from logs. Here's the interior of the sauna. This is all the same. I never did finish this. It's the one thing I never did finish on the project. Still think about fixing it every once in a while, but it's kind of fun to, just look at the crappy craftsmanship there and remember that I ever finished it. Lock that guy up. So we come down this way. This is the trail that leads to our pump over that way. Let me show you how our water system works. We got basically two stages for this. So stage one is I use a jet pump, which is under this plastic tub here. The jet pump will pump water all the way up to the cabin. Pumps water up about 50 feet of elevation. The reason I have to put it down here is you may or may not know you can't suck water up that far. You can only suck water up like a maximum of 23 feet or something like that. That's just physics. It boils off. The pressure gets too low. So you have to pump it, suck it up to here, and then once it's at this height, the jet pump can push it up, no problem. So I've got a half or 3/4 horsepower jet pump. I used to have a one horsepower. I actually had to get rid of that because it was too big, sucked too much amperage out of my generator. My generator couldn't handle it. But once I got this one installed, it works great. It's just excellent. So the way this is set up is I have two lines in the water. You can see where they go down in the water there. They stick out a ways. I got a rigid pipe that holds them out. Keeps them off the ground. The two lines come up here. One goes to this pitcher pump and one goes to the main pump. So the advantage of this pitcher pump is I can use this pitcher pump to prime the main pump. And I can prime the main pump through this. Well, actually this spot here will easily prime and fill up the tube. And then back here is where I can prime and fill up the jet pump. So I have this little piece here and I can just put this right over here and it goes right into there. I've got an extension I can use to curl it around to the backside if I need to. But usually if I can fill this up, it'll fill up the pump. So it's not a problem. So this is just on this should be pressurized right now. So I'm guessing if I open this, it's going to shoot out a little bit. And that's just all the water up there running all the way back down here. And same thing on this guy. And then so I have the switch here, just a basic electrical switch. It's kind of kept under a bucket so it stays out of the water, or out of the rain rather. But that's how it works. So I prime this pump using this, shut the valve, top that one off if I need to, shut the valve, and then I hit the power to this. It'll start sucking water up here and then pushes it up there. I'll show you what we got at the cabin next. All right, so if we head up to the cabin from here, I put these steps in. There used to be a big tree right here. We actually had to kind of walk that way. We cut the tree out. That was not easy. Had to lift out a whole bunch of boulders and stuff. And then we used all these rocks that we dug out. I mean, that's how much rock there is here. Everything's just rock underneath. There's no soil. So I dug all these rocks out, built these steps. I built this lean-to on the side of the sauna. That's a great place to put, extra stuff. Stuff that we have in the boat seats, pool tools or pool toys, lily pad, tube, etc., tackle boxes, what have you. This is the fort that the kids built. So they built this from all the extra pallets that we had laying around. And they actually chinked it too, which is kind of funny. They walked out of the woods and they picked like pallets or handfuls of moss. It looks like there's a shotgun shell in there too. But they picked up all these handfuls of moss and they actually chinked it. Looks like there's a couple holes, but it's kind of cool. Built them a tire swing. And then here's our cabin. So I've done a ton of clearing around here, dead trees and trees that were not looking great. There were some really big poplars that were not in the best shape. Those two pretty good sized birch trees came down recently. So I've got I did have this nice and cleaned up, but I started chainsawing again about a month ago, give or take. And, clearing all this stuff up is it takes a lot of time. I spent a good 3 days down here in this area, just at one time, chainsawing and chipping and chainsawing and chipping. You can see my water line maybe right there, running up the hill, going up to the cabin. And then as we walk up the stairs, I'm a little out of breath. I've been chainsawing for a couple hours here. We get the cabin. That was the swinging pod thing that we bought for Claire when she was little, or my sister gave it to us. But here's the cabin. This is all looking pretty much the same. There's an antenna I put on the roof, just PVC pipe with some wire. We use that for the radio. We expanded our wood shed a little bit. And the point with this was we got all this split wood here, and then we needed a place to put the logs that aren't split instead of letting them rot. So that's what those are. I'll show you around the rest of this ground a little bit. I've got steel roof on the shed. I just did that a week ago or so. I've been meaning to do that for years, but that's done now. You'll notice the top isn't quite done. I actually had the top in the boat, the cap. That's just spare extra cap that I have up there. But I had the cap in the boat, and wind hit it, and I didn't even see it happen. It just picked the whole cap up and dropped it right in the water. And fortunately, it's at the bottom of the lake now. But we have this, we have the spigot here in our water system. So we've got running water. You can see there for the hose on the outside if we want it. We use this for their generator here. That's our plug. It's a male plug. That's a pole that I built to hang deer on. Planning on doing some deer hunting here. Around back of the cabin, the shed, it's kind of messy. I think I put this window in last. That wasn't there before. Had an extra window. Kind of messy over here. I got to clean this up. But this is kind of our generator shed, if you will. Just a place to put the generator. The insulation keeps the noise down. Usually when we run the generator, we don't need a lot of power, so we can run it on the lowest setting. So when you're in the cabin, you can basically barely hear it. But you'll notice we've cleared a lot. For fire safe, they want about 30 feet, give or take. We've got about a 30-foot circle. I'd like to bring it back another 10 feet or so all the way around, but man, it's just so much chainsawing and chipping to clear out any space. This actually is there's a dead tree here. You can see the remnants there. There's a dead tree that was here, sticking up next to that birch tree. That big birch tree there. It was sticking up, I don't know, 20, 30 feet. And I brought that down, and it actually, when it came down, it just barely grazed the siding. I was kind of on the fence about whether it was going to hit the cabin or not. And well, I guess I was right. So let me show you the inside. So we got a couple chairs up here, got a table, etc. Here's the inside of the cabin. Here's our porch, screened-in porch. Kids have a telescope out here. This is our day bed. This is great. I sleep out here all the time in the summer. Listen to the loons when you fall asleep. Listen to the rain on the tin roof. Over here, we've got kind of our table for, breakfast, dinner, what have you, playing cards, etc. And then here's our battery setup. I'll show you that in a second. A little more detail. And this is the inside of the cabin. So we've successfully painted everything in here. Karn did a great job painting this. We swapped out the stove for a Vermont casting stove because it's really efficient and does a way better job heating the cabin than the old stove. I just had it like an El Cheapo stove, and that just burned through wood way too fast. Got a shotgun hanging up there for grouse hunting. When we put a new stove in, we had to put in a new pipe. Got a guitar hanging over there. I put this in this year, this tin ceiling here. And I've got that in the kitchen, and I have it in the bedroom as well. That looks really nice. We still use the Arctic for the fridge, basically. Got our stove here. I got our water set up over here for drinking water. Got this little guy here from IKEA. Nice little cabinet for holding stuff. And then this is the bedroom. This is where Carden and I sleep. Just your average run-of-the-mill bedroom, I guess. And then if I take you upstairs, these are the stairs that I built originally. They've worked out great for the last 3-4 years. If we go up to the cabin, it's nice and clean up here, surprisingly. This is the kids' zone. We have a light strip for light. And then the boys sleep over here. Claire's got a spot over here. And then the kids have built like a little reading nook thing over in this corner here for them to hang out. View from up top. We've spent, 5 summers in the cabin now? And out of the 5 summers that we've spent, I spent about 2.5, 3 building. These last 2 years have been really nice. I've just been able to relax and do a lot of fishing. Here's the outside. We've got kind of this like cheap screen thing from Menards that works pretty good, actually, for $8. I built a lean-to on this side of the shed as well. That's kind of a spot where I keep all the used lumber, or the extra lumber that we have. Got my ladders hanging over there, chippers down there, so that works pretty well. Outhouse is back there. You'll notice the trails are all beat down pretty nicely now after a couple years of use. Let me show you what we got going on with the water system. All right, so when we pump water up, it comes up this pipe here, and it goes into this tank here. You can see it's just about empty. Got about 10 gallons, 20 gallons left, give or take. That's a 65-gallon tank. And that's just, we have to pump water once a month, if even that. We don't use a ton of water. I mean, even over the 4th of July when we were up here, we didn't even use the 65 gallons for a whole week and a half. But basically, got a hose coming out of this. That hose is hooked up to an RV pump. All right. And so this is a SureFlow RV pump. It's mounted on some foam to keep vibrations down. And what happens is when you open the faucet, the pressure drops. And when the water pressure drops, this thing kicks on. And that allows the, basically for you to more or less have running water, just like you would in an RV. So that's just, I mean, that thing has been awesome. It's basically like having running water without having it. So we have this RV pump here. That line goes to this pre-filter, essentially. That's just like I think it's like is it 15 microns or something? Just a sediment filter, more or less. And then that goes into my pipe. My pipe goes this way, goes down, and then under the cabin to the other side. I'll show you, you can probably see a good view here. There's some raspberries in the way. But here you can see the pipe. Maybe, yeah, there you go. Under the cabin, just going across the bottom of the cabin. Comes over here, comes out this other side. Comes out this other side. I actually have a flexible piece in here. The reason I did that is I was experimenting with a pressure tank and whether it was worth even having a pressure tank. And I thought at first it would be, but it really doesn't. The SureFlow does good enough. So I had a pressure tank sitting here for a while and it just didn't, it's fine without it. So then this turns to 90 degrees, comes up here. There's a T here. That's where it goes into the cabin. Tees off into this where I can turn the spigot on if I want to. And then what that does is that will come up through the cabinet, and I figured out a way to mount this pipe so it's really, really sturdy. That pipe sticks up there, and then we've got this faucet on the top. The reason I've got the faucet so high is because what we do is we pump the water through the system like that to get running water. And then we pump it into this filter, which is a Dalton filter, kind of a Berkey style, if you will. The difference would be, I don't think, I could be wrong, but I don't think Berkey makes like really, really high grade drinking filters. They make like charcoal filters, carbon filters. So they're the Berkey things that they do clean the water, but they're more geared towards removing chlorine, taste, etc. You know, it's more for city use, if you will. This actually has 4 ceramic filters, and they're what they call ultra sterile filters. I think they get down to like 0.01 microns or something. So that filters out any sort of giardia or anything. So we've been drinking the water straight out of the lake through this filter for 3-4 years, and it works just fine. And so all we do is we just flip this, turn this thing over here, turn it on, and then we fill up the water filter. And then on the bottom, it gravity filters through this down into this tank. And then on the bottom, we got nice clean drinking water that comes out. I do have a parts per million tester. So I test the water every time when I come back after a number of days to make sure there aren't any sort of bacteria or anything. And the parts per million on the drinking water at home in the Twin Cities coming out of the tap is like it's like 180 parts per million or 150 parts per million. This is like 25 coming straight out of the lake. And once you filter it, it gets down to like, I've seen as low as like 2 or 3. Usually it's about 10, give or take. Here's our stove that we use for cooking. Got an old school Swedish percolator for coffee. Big ass, huge ass cast iron. I can't even lift it with one hand. Huge ass cast iron stove or frying pan for the stove. Also show you the solar setup. So I haven't changed the setup in like, again, 4 or 5 years. This is still the original setup. It's the original controller. I have the original panels up there. This is my second battery. It's still going strong. Basically just the solar charger and the solar panel work together to charge the car battery, more or less, 12-volt battery. And then we can run all of our lights off the battery. We've got a fan in there as well. It'll run for 2 days straight without any sort of additional charge if we wanted it to. Of course, in the summer, the nights are a lot shorter as well. So that's worked out great. I've got 4 easy hookups here, so I just disconnect the power every time I leave. This is the power from the charger to the battery. This is the power from the battery to the cabin. And then this is actually a separate one here. This is for the water pump. I did this separately so we can just shut the water pump off if we have a leak or something, instead of having mass water damage everywhere. But you know what? I haven't had any leaks. I mean, it's nice that, you know, the pump does make a little bit of noise. You can barely hear it, but you can still hear it. So if it's running, we know. But it is nice to have this additional switch just for the pump here. I've also put in a couple extra USB outlets, to charge phones, iPads, etc. And I'll take you down to the Bluff too, just to show you what the Bluff looks like. So this is our trail down to the Bluff. This is the trail where I carried all the stuff up that I had sitting there. I carried all of it up this way, up to the cabin to build originally. I had the one trail on the other side that I used to build the foundation. And then once we hauled everything up over the winter, with the snowmobiles and four-wheeler, it all sat right down here. This is where all the stuff was sitting. So I had my big cache of materials. This is also where I was tenting originally when I was building the place. You know, believe it or not, but you look around here, there's literally no level ground anywhere. The only remotely level place I could find to tent this whole like area without going back too far, it does level off when you get back up in there, was right here. This is where I originally had tented, this nice little tent pad, but still it's not flat. Got some old concrete there. I haven't ever chucked that. Maybe I'll find a use for it someday. This was the pine tree here, this big red pine. You can see there's still a spike on the back that we hooked the winch to. We actually have our like marshmallow sticks on there. And then we have this great rocking chair or swinging chair here. Bought that for Karin for our anniversary a couple years ago. That's the original sled from when he pulled things up. And then we got a fire pit here. Me and the boys built this fire pit a number of years ago. Just went and found a bunch of rocks. We've been kind of adding to it as we find rocks. Had a fire in there a couple weekends ago, as you can see. And then here's the lake today. Again, pretty good wind. So the other thing that we've done is we built a lot of trails. And if you go way back, keep going back behind the cabin, we've got about 14 acres back here. Got a whole bunch of state land behind that. And we've built a lot of trails. About 1.5 miles worth of trails. So that's been just phenomenal, fantastic for hiking. It's been awesome for grouse hunting. Grouse hunting up here has been one of my favorite things. And yeah, one of the trails goes off that way. Another goes this way behind the outhouse. Those are really all the improvements we've made. Again, haven't done a whole lot as far as building for the last 2 years. Little stuff here and there. But it's been more just enjoying the cabin. And this, I mean, this is fantastic, right? It's fall. There's no bugs. The colors are starting to pop. About as beautiful, about as pretty as it gets. Thanks for watching. Bye.